Check. Should I just start? Yeah? Okay. Okay, thank you. It's a deeply moving film. For me, I don't know for how it is for a non-musician, but for a musician like me, it was deeply moving. And so let me begin by asking Surabhi. One is that, you know, 1 PB, what the name that is given, and what they still, you know, think of it as is Khananwala or Kakhawala. And this renaming of their land and the erasure of, you know, not just the name, but also the stories and the memories that that name holds within itself and that landscape holds. That is kind of almost like a theme that runs through the film. And with this old man who, you know, the 103-year-old man, every time you see him, he says, time ki baat hai. He's talking about time every now and then. So there is this sense of forgetting that even the old man, you sense it, that it's once he's gone, it's gone. And the renaming, there is a conscious renaming, conscious erasure, but also the kind of loss that happens because of loss of memory. So is that something, how did you want to, you know, capture that in the film?
Oh, it's on? Okay. Thank you for a lovely question. But firstly, thank you really to everyone who's stayed on. I'm well aware of how long the film is and how late it is, but so thank you. I'm eager to talk about it and share our experiences. So yeah, for me, 1 PB was really, in a sense, the metaphorical erasure, right? It's like initially I was trying to play with the title, A Village with No Name, Just a Number. And this is a space for the memory of music and poetry from the 14th, 15th century. So that irony was sort of something that was the first thing that struck me while in the process of doing research and visiting the villages. So as you know, 1 PB is just one of the many villages that we visited, and many others have not lost their names. They have their names, but 1 PB became emblematic of this certain sense of erasure and forgetting. And while there is that overwhelming sense of losing, in this strange way, it continued, it kept coming back, especially, I don't know if Amala and Ramani can speak about it, but when we were there, it was as if, as we spent time, especially with the older man, the memory kept flooding back. And there was a way in which when we were editing, Diksha is the editor on that left corner, and Amala is the sound recordist who's there, and Ramani is the cinematographer. But when Diksha and I were editing, we kept sort of playing with that idea of forgetting, but there was also a sense that somehow the landscape remembers, even though landscape itself has changed. There's a way in which when Mukhtiarji says that music is entering this child's ears and it's entering his consciousness. So there's a way in which it seems to be as if it will just never get, memory will not be lost of this music, but at the same time, it's almost as if the world is conspiring to make it not just to forget it, but to make it irrelevant to the world today. I think that that seesaw is really what, you know, in a sense, it wasn't maybe articulated to ourselves, and Diksha and I were playing with the material, but I think that overwhelming sense of loss, but it is the bushes will remember, but the bushes have gone. But still, somehow, maybe this canal that doesn't belong will remember. You know, there was some weird thing that we kept playing with the landscape itself, and that started becoming more and more important, which is why the long film, because something about like hearing a song, it wasn't just enough to say, there is a song. We can now consume it, we can hear it, we can enjoy it. But there's a way in which that song is sort of spread into the air, perhaps. And who knows, maybe we don't have the ears to listen anymore, but it is there. I don't know, it was just a strange seesaw that we were playing with. And yeah, I don't know if Ramani or, again, in the sound, again, so much work was done on this, you know, so this last sequence where there are 3 songs. One, first 25 minutes, we give you no music, though we call it music in a village named 1PB, but in the end, the music just like comes, you know, in waves and almost continuously, but we felt the need to move away from the music and just keep the sound of one note, like monotone, as we are moving to another space. So I think Diksha, Amala, and me, we kept playing with this idea. And each one, so when Diksha was editing, she brought one, what's it called, experience of it. Then Amla, when she was doing the sound, brought another experience of it. Ramani, of course, when he shoots is, I don't know, he's always playing with the immediacy of the moment and the impossibility of forgetting deep history. It's like some weird way of shooting that only Ramani has, that we sort of are working with. So I don't know if they would want to add, but I think this was this game that the 4 of us, and then of course Malay, who did the color grading, and Diman Karmakar, who mixed. I think 5 of us were sort of playing this, I don't know, this passing the parcel with each other. Ramani, if you want to add, or Diksha or Amla. Actually, Diksha, because I think, Diksha maybe because I think you spent many long years in patches, not continuously, on this. So every time we came to it, it was with some new feeling. So I don't know if Diksha wants to jump in.
I mean, yeah, even in the way the title of the film comes, it's us trying to still figure what 1PB is, whether the film is about 1PB or is it a village or is it the music. So this thing that we were trying to give, you know, like spread across the idea, but not like hold anybody's hand and take you through a journey. It's not that journey. The idea is to bring different elements and then allow you to tie that journey while you're watching the film and while you're experiencing the music, and then kind of get a sense of what is lost and what's happening.
Thank you. Diksha, since you're also inside the conversation, I want to direct the next question at you. You know, in this, the rhythm of the music is such an interesting one. It's got like both the beat of almost like the camel walking, but also the melody is expansive. You know, it's like so much of it is not in beat. And there's like the expanse of the desert, but also the walk of the camel. Both are embedded in the music that we hear. And I wanted to ask you that, you know, the way that you've edited the film and the way that we see it, there's always, I really love the moments when you think they're going to sing and then you go somewhere else and then you come back and they're still thinking about the singing and then they sing. It's almost, it gives us a feeling that this is what they do all the time. It gives that, it clarifies that for us, that this is like a everyday thing for them. They're singing while they are contemplating, while they are cooking, while they are, you know, smoking their BDs. This was very beautiful in the way that you have woven all these different stories or characters and, you know, the threads together. I wanted to ask you about the rhythm of the edit and how the music affected it.
Frankly, the rhythm is purely based on the space itself and the way Ramani has shot it. So it, like when you talk about the fact that it's not like we are trying to show this music or we're trying to listen to this music, though every time we come to the music, it's always like a performance for the camera. It's never like something they're doing irrespective when the camera enters the space. It's never been that in the footage. But at the same time, you clearly understand that it is part of who they are. And I mean, this is a legacy, and this is also a profession that they've carried on like for generations. So it's not something that they do separately. It is, of course, part of who they are. And the rhythm, I think, was fairly embedded in the material itself. I would say.
Thank you. Um, I'll quickly move to Ramani. I just want to make sure that I ask all the questions that I have, and then, because we have such little time. There were so many thoughts I had while watching this again today. I want to ask Ramani that, when we see him actually put together the bean, it was very beautiful. The weight that we have for him to, and there is almost a hope. We really hope that instrument works because they keep saying that it's broken, it's broken, it's broken. And when they put that bean together, and it's really beautifully shown how it's kind of coming together. And then you hear that this instrument has one sthai note, and then it has the movement. And similarly, there's another double flute that they play in front. He plays in front of the desert. There's the still note, the sthai note, and then there's the melody that accompanies it. So this element, this thing about them kind of having the sand that you see, and also like this. You can almost see the sand when you can hear it in the sound, because when they're shaking the harmonium, they're actually taking out the sand grains from inside it to repair it. So it's this kind of coarseness that is there in the landscape that you feel and you see in all the images that you've captured. And like she said, you are almost like how you've captured the vastness of it, and yet also the longing that's there in the music, and the kind of the yearning to hold something. All that is very, very clearly, we feel it when we watch it. So I don't know what question to ask you. Just please talk about how you did this.
Today I was just enjoying myself watching the film, and two monitors. One monitor was there in the back, and this was slightly dark, and that was very bright. So I was adjusting to two images, and it was felt good actually, because we tried to adjust this, and we were not completely happy with the way it is. I mean, the way when I see this film now, I feel that all the risks that we take in the shooting, things have to happen there and then. They won't do it again for you. We cannot ask them to do it again. So it's like whatever happens is in the spontaneous moment, you find the rhythm to film with them, and in tune with what Surabhi is looking for, or kind of, we are all like figuring out, so that if you struck that rhythm, then I feel happy, then you know that you got it, and somewhere you flow with it. Like that beat thing only, today when I saw it, I was really enjoying myself, and I felt like, oh, I found the rhythm of filming, But it cannot become excessive also. It can become a bit of a problematic also sometimes. But thanks to Diksha, I mean, she's managed to bring it to some kind of acceptable level. But I can also understand that it must be very tough to edit this film because we've shot a lot, and kudos to all of them, to kind of distill out whatever it is. And also I felt that the whole narrative, I feel like I can watch it again and again, because this is the second time I'm watching the finished film. I've seen the rough cut earlier. I felt that the way the music is hidden or stuck in the sand, or kind of buried in the sand, or kind of comes out comes out somewhere, nooks and corners, something you can see. I almost saw the film like that today. You know, that it's somewhere you see it, sometimes it gushes out. You know, like it kind of, the way you said it, it kind of gushes out actually. And then again it's lost, and again it's in that beat and all that. So it's, I saw it in a different narrative today, and I feel every time I watch it will be a different narrative. But I enjoyed all the songs of all the musicians, the way it has come out in the narrative. It's very beautiful.
Thank you. Surabhi, I want to ask you about, this this sense of loss that, you feel. It begins with, of course, you seeing that, okay, there is a sense of loss that they feel. One is they keep talking about the audience, that nobody listens to the music anymore. And where is the audience? Where is the audience? And you realize that through the film, you realize that what was the music for? I mean, where was it sung? Like, in the beginning, they say they were our traditional audiences, about the landowners. And then, of course, that has changed. And then you don't know what, because the music is so deeply philosophical and contemplative. It's not performative. You don't know what, where the audience is lost, which they also are continuously saying through the film. And then there comes this, one thread of the story of the Hindu princess and the Muslim Mir going and awakening the spirit and singing for her all night. And in the end, when he says, I wrote it down. He says Bismillah, and, he sings the Shiv Tandav thing. Somehow that loss is transferred to you. That sense of loss, kind of, you feel it like, this is my loss also. So was that a conscious journey that you made in the edit? What was the...
So this, my engagement with the idea of the film and the community has already been quite long. So I've got to know of the music and the community through this historian friend of ours who used to work in an NGO called Urmul in Bikaner district. And through his writings and through whenever he would visit, he would bring some recordings. Through him, one got a sense of the community and the space and what's going on there. I first visited the village almost few years later in 2008. And then it started with Rahul, this person who eventually worked very closely with IFA actually over I think more than a decade. And there are many IFA people here who know him well. But from 2008, I actually started shooting only in 2015 because I could never raise the funds to go and start shooting. But when 2008 I went, Rahul brought me with the idea of we have to record an archive. Otherwise it's gone, it's lost. The next generation is not passing it forward, right? So it started with that motivation. And eventually it was 2015 or 16 that I started shooting. And as you know, by 2015-16, already the political landscape has changed. By the time we continued shooting into 2019, I intended to shoot for 2 more years, but the pandemic hit. During the pandemic, the political landscape everywhere, but particularly in Rajasthan, had become absolutely like almost something I couldn't have imagined in 2008, right? So because of this very long durational kind of thinking through this space, it became almost imperative that not only is the music, but what the vision of that music is gone, right? Nobody wants anybody to be singing Bhakti and Sufi, the same person of a community singing the two, or what it means, right? So that transformed, and that in the edit we brought it. But when I started out, I was really asking the question, when everything about the landscape and way of life has changed, how can we put the burden of holding on to this very beautiful music on the community alone? Where are we vis-a-vis that loss? It can't just be the loss of the community, it has to be a collective loss. And by 2022-23, when we were editing, it was not just the loss of the music, but it was a loss of an imagination where I could say Bismillah and then go on to, sing a chant a Shiv mantra. Within seconds, the same person while holding on to his prayer beads, right? So there were many layers of loss that were sort of getting added on as we went along. But when I started, I really started with, I really had while I wanted to do the work of archiving, I felt like we can't just, again, museumize this music and then put it in some, and like, we need to archive it, but we also need to think that whose burden is this to hold on to the music, right? How can we? I really feel like this is not the problem of the community. They feel the loss, but we should equally be feeling that loss. Like, what does it mean? But also, what does it mean? They're singing of a landscape that doesn't exist. The canals have transformed it. It has given the promise of irrigation and agriculture, which has led to nothing. The music was performed in fairs, but largely the music was, they were following nomad pastoralists. And at night, sitting with a bunch of pastoralists who were out in the desert singing for them. So for me to reach there and Ramani and Amala to reach there, singing was not an issue, but there's nobody paying them to listen. There, they would move forward with one bakri or some milk or whatever it is, right? So we've lost an entire way of life. So really, what does this music mean then? Like, who are we to say you must hold on to it? The father said that, what am I going to do with applause? What do I do? So best that you become a truck driver and just forget about this music, right? And I think it's a slap on our collective faces who feel like, oh, this music is so important. Of course it's important, but what do we have to do to make it happen? We can't just say, oh, let's record it, which needs to be done. I'm not saying, and which is what I hope to do with all my material, because otherwise, okay, film to film hai, but the real work is in holding that, but also then giving it back to the community, I think, in some way. So that, because there are people who are still continuing to teach younger children. The Mukhtiarji, Basu, all of them are trying to make sure that the younger generation learns, because their fathers said, forget it, leave it behind. So it was a really complicated journey. The world has become so complicated in the time that one has been thinking about this film, that it's just every time we come to the material, it's like something more has been lost, something deeper has been lost. So yeah, I don't know if that answers, but it does.
Thank you. I want to ask Amala and also Diksha, I think together, this, like you said, there is this poetry and this music that is there, which is, and it's, the music really kind of comes across to us very beautifully in the film. There are lots of silences after which the music kind of comes, and you almost feel like, I always thought, like, when I listen to the Rajasthani folk singers, Mirs or the Manganyars, that the openness of the desert is there in the style of the singing. You can just, the voice reaches like across the desert. And the coarseness of the sand, the wind, the harshness of the sun, everything is there in that music. And the way that, Amala, you have kind of somehow embedded this music, but also there is a constant, there's a presence of the trucks, if Mukhtiarji is singing outside and you can hear the vehicles passing by. And there's one moment when the electricity goes and he continues to sing. In the kitchen, and especially when the women are making the chapatis and you hear the music and then you hear the fire, the way that the sound is put together and the music kind of comes across to us also shows us the presence of music inside their lives. It's not external to that. And also, like, the way that it's edited, when the story begins of that princess, you see them washing clothes, putting their, clothes to dry. That this really, you look at it, it's sparse, it is this kind of a landscape, but it's so rich with music and stories and the imagination and the melodies. So I want, please, Amala, to tell us about how you thought of the, sound design.
Firstly, I would say that the edit, which was, I have seen, I think, 2 to 3 versions of the edit, and each time there was a certain, you know, craving and a struggle to kind of reach that the Sufi idea behind the film, the Sufi idea of the music. I think that is what the way the way the entire edit is structured, the way the pauses are there in the film right now, everything is the way Surabhi and Diksha have kind of transposed onto the film. The way the footage has been dealt with, and the way I think the music comes at certain points of time. There is a space for everything which has been created in the edit, which I kind of followed. And for me, I think uh, I have been to the location and I was there in the shoot. So that experience, and of the experience of recording the music on location, and the way it transports you into a certain a different world, that the passion that is there behind the in the musicians, in their culture, and that is actually transposed onto all of us. I feel that Ramani has shot the way he has shot it, responding to everything that's happening around him. Disha has kind of uh, put together things in a certain way, building on what Ramani has shot along with Surabhi. And I think I'm just adding to things. And Dhiman has mixed the film, putting all these things into perspective. I think that the beauty of the music, the beauty of how the music is a part of the nature and the nature is part of the music. The shifting sands, as Surabhi has mentioned in the title, in the beginning of the film, the shifting sands, and the film has really, I think it has the essence of the way change has come through, but still the they're still trying to keep the music alive. They're still trying to keep the music alive. I think that is what has driven all of us to kind of put in our thing. There was no particular. I just followed the edit, and for me, the music was sacrosanct, and I think the power of the music will come through the best when it's given that space. Uh, uh, and everything is music actually. Nature is music. And the way their music evolves from the nature around them, I think that is the source of inspiration.
Thank you. Thank
I'd
you.
say that,
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
No, I
Diksha.
was just saying that, like Amala says, that it's about what Surbi started with, the idea of canal and water and access to water. And then what they talk about is कि यहाँ की झाड़ियाँ हमारे कण कण में बसी हैं, right? And then talking about the loss of it, I think it just comes to the point where Basu says कि जब हमने प्यास नहीं देखी होगी तो हम क्या समझेंगे? And that is quintessential one, of course, to the kind of music or the kind of poetry that Bulleh Shah and Baba Farid wrote, is about that desire, and that desire for rain and water is what is making them wanting to reach out to the God. I think the whole thing was already connecting, and you could see the bigger picture when you listen to all these people talk, and you looked at the landscape, and you looked at the cows that are running, and you looked at the canal. I think it already started the moment we started putting together the sequences, the whole landscape, what this music means, and why these landscape is important. and why they consider singing these songs as ibadat. It all kind of started falling in place, and one was drawing from what existed in the material.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I had a thought which I forgot, but I will open it up for maybe 2 questions, 2 or 3 questions. We have time for that much, I think. Yeah? 2, 3 questions. Yes.
You can hear me? Yes. There are so many art forms disappearing by the dozen all over. What made you choose this particular art form? Number one, first question. Second, was it about the music? Was it about the landscape that drew you there? Or was it about some other particular motivation that you had? Because you had some motivation to do this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I did. So what drew me to this was really, most of my work seems to come, emerge from very closely listening to many of my friends who do incredible work all over the place and in different kind of ways. And I quite enjoy sort of getting sucked into that. So this particular friend who worked in Bikaner, his writings and his narration of everything, his analysis was something that drew me. So I knew that in a country, or actually in a world where we are losing so many art forms and so much on a daily basis, the reason I chose this was simply because I already felt like through my friend I had a connection. So it was not as if I was like this pioneer going into the Wild West and finding that one interesting art form that is getting lost, but it was built on a very long set of conversations with this friend. What drew me to this is the fact that it was multiple things, that the music was totally intertwined with the landscape, and the landscape in the music did not physically exist anymore because of the Indira Gandhi Canal project. It had transformed not just the landscape, but also a way of life, where now the nomads, the owners of sheep and goat, the pastoralists were forced to settle down and leave that to become farmers. And so they were given the promise of water, which of course never came. So the mission was Himalayan waters will bring greenery into the desert, right? So in a sense, that imagination itself has perverted everything around and not brought the water, and brought crop failure after crop failure after crop failure. And within that is this music. So for me, what drew me to come back to, meaning I have lots of friends doing very, very exciting work, but not everything becomes a film. The reason why I think this became a film in my head was all these different threads that actually feel like one thread is looking at modernity, one thread is looking at environment, one thread is looking at music. I thought it all just weaves together. There's no way to separate the strands. So I wanted to work with that through my medium, which is film, which allows that messiness to come through. Well, it is actually in the region. No, that's fine. In the region, in this particular form. Now we have 2 or 3 of the singers that you see on screen who are able to make a livelihood out of this, but the majority are not able to make a livelihood out of it. The other ones who are able to make a livelihood are now singing ghazals in 5-star hotels. So it is at risk. There are people really committed to holding on to it. So I'm talking about this particular form of Saraiki and Mirs. There's a lot of Rajasthani folk that is surviving, but everything is in this precarious, museumized way, right? So in a five-star hotel, you'll be able to hear Rajasthani folk, but you perhaps will not be able to hear it anymore in the fair, because there we are going to have 5,000 rupees ka DJ music, because nobody has the money to listen to the songs that belong in that fair, actually. So yeah, I get your point that it has not disappeared, but it has not stayed with the community either in a strange way.
I want to say that this is probably the first time I felt, you know, when he says, "Pyas hi nahi jante," when you don't know the thirst, then, you know, how will you be able to feel the pain of it? The first time I felt like, oh, why did they get the water? You know, that, what do you lose? They did not get the water. Yeah, but it also kind of like, you have these questions of like, oh, this sense that, you know, how mindful development should be, and just throwing something towards a community and saying, okay, this is for you, is like, it alters so many things, so many things. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, interesting movie, and on all counts, on the music, on the visuals, etc. But I want to ask you about one specific element, and I'm low down in my intellectual capacity maybe. Sufism is so strong in all of this. Did you intend to make a political statement by taking that thread through? You ended up making a strong political statement, one, and did you get stuck in the politics? Because though there was a mention of a lady singer in the text, we never heard anybody singing. Do the Mirs not have lady singers now? Thanks.
I'll answer the first question first. Even when I started, I knew that Sufi music is political, right? It is political. It is radical. Sufi music in itself is, you know, you can call it spiritual, you can call it philosophical, but it is radical, right? Bulle Shah's words are truly radical and iconoclastic, right? So I knew very early on that, of course, that is the reason. So is Bhakti, what Meera sings, or, you know, it's radical. And as I said, over the years, as it took a really long time, the political landscape around us has changed so dramatically that when we were editing at one point, I wondered whether, you know, I had started documenting everything. So I had documented all the social media videos of the lynching going on in Rajasthan, very close to the villages that we are talking about, actually. And I contemplated whether we wanted to put it in. But then I just felt that I didn't need to. I don't think any one of us can forget that when one is listening to someone, a Muslim man sing Bhakti in the same breath as Sufi kalam. So it's political. It was so directly political that there's no getting away from it. And I knew that it is easy for me for that sense of urgency to be there without me having to put yet again revive images of extreme violence, which I did not want. But I knew there was no forgetting it. About your, sorry, what the second question was? Women. So yeah, so women, we did have one woman singer whom we had recorded quite a lot. We did not include it simply because she was actually in severe pain that day because she had been bitten by a snake the previous day. But because I kept saying, where are the women singers? They brought her and they made her sit and said, now sing. Because she's asking, where are the women singers? And so Diksha and I decided not to keep that because we could not get away from the fact that the poor woman was she sang beautifully and the songs are beautiful, but I couldn't remove the memory of how much in pain she was. So we kept it away. But we did have that interview of the women saying that in the previous generation we were there, and then the moment the canals came in and outsiders, basically Haryana and Punjab, farmers started coming in to irrigate because nobody were farmers, the first thing that happened was women disappeared from the music scene. About what's happening now, my first screening of the film were in the villages, in the homes of the people who feature. And Mukhtiarji, the one wearing the red kurta, that little kid has grown up and has become a Insta star, has no interest in music. But his younger sister, who is all of 7, will not leave her grandfather's side. And Mukhtiarji is like, in this generation, the women are going to come back. So that was like quite lovely. And I was like, ab film khatam ho gayi hai, and you know. But yeah, so there is an absence of women in these 2 generations. In the previous generations, they were there, oh, Sumana is here. So Sumana knows a lot more. She is also engaged very closely with the community for almost a decade, if not more. So there is that period of absence of women, which is when I'm filming. And I did want to mark it, but then not go on and on about it, because if they're not there, they're not there. But I did, you know, as a woman filmmaker, it was almost impossible for me not to, right at the beginning, say women have disappeared from the music scene and then continue. So yeah. And we also realized that one woman, despite singing very beautiful Meera bhajans, actually, she sang, it would also seem tokenistic, because she is, in her generation, one of the very few. But hopefully it will come back, I don't know. Yeah.
One last question?
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, it's not a question. I just want to, this is a sharing. Like Surabhi, first of all, Ramani and Surabhi, thank you so much. You know, this is, I do have a personal connection with it, so it made me deeply, deeply emotional. Between 2009 and 2017-18, for almost a decade, I've had the good fortune of spending hours and hours and many, many days in this entire region, listening to their music through the night and all of that. So I could smell the BD and taste the chai in the film. So thank you so much for that. Just one sharing, Surabhi has already mentioned about India Foundation for the Arts' engagement, long period of engagement with the Mirs. And one of the things that would always come up, invariably in all our conversations, is ये 4 KPD or 3 CKD and 1 PB, it would make them very diffident. And that's when we realized how important the names of where we belong to, it's so much part of who we are, it's our identity. And it would invariably come up, and at the end of it, in one session, they said, "Aaj se hum iska naam badalte." This is 1 PB. And they said, "We are calling it Mirgad." And our greatest success was that you could board a bus in Bikaner and say Mirgad, and the conductor knew where to take you. So Mirgad became part of the consciousness of people in that region, but I think, you know, getting the name officially changed is a long battle, and as we can see here, it's still 1 PB on records. But anyway, the coming back of that confidence as musicians and asserting their identity in the name Mirgad became so important. And yeah, I hope it becomes Mirgad sometime. And also, a lot of these people you see in the film are Instagram and Facebook stars. You can follow them. They go live on Facebook and Instagram very often. So.
Thanks, Sumana.
Thank you. I think, yeah. Thank you, Surabhi. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you to,
Thank you. Thank you.
and of course, Vikalp Bengaluru. Thank you so much, and thank you so much. My God, such a long conversation after a long film. I'm deeply grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.